Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin. Our Barnes haters are sad, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros. And oh, how sweet it is! Unless we're talking about the Lady Vols, in which case it's oh how 32-ish it is, because that's the round they're going to now. So, um, man, what an afternoon if you're a Vols fan. It is not a bad day to be a Tennessee fan. That is for sure. Rustin, immediate takeaways from what we just witnessed.
We said it a couple of weeks ago. Every game we keep in the 50s and 60s is going to be a win. And, this is now 2 games in a row they've kept in the 50s and 60s. And, assuming whoever it is, Florida Atlantic or Fairleigh Dickinson, I think neither one of them have seen defensive pressure like we can provide. I think that one can stay in the 50s and 60s. So, the door is wide open. When you look at the opposite bracket, it's going to be, probably Kansas State or Marquette.
Yep.
In the Elite Eight in Madison Square Garden. Anything can happen when you get to that point. Marquette poses some problems, but the way we're playing defense right now, I would love to see an Alabama Final Four.
Yeah, that'd be good. It seems like maybe it's an appropriate time to mention we do have this hoodie on our website at thevolbros.com. You click on shop, we got Go Big Orange, or for the Lady Vols fans, we got that one. You could also look at there, multiple different colors there. Just throwing that out there in case anybody wanted to know about that. My immediate takeaways from the game today, I tweeted this at halftime, and several people have asked me since the game is over what I thought, and immediately my reaction is, I don't know who I just watched. I have never seen a Tennessee team play that hard and that well for that long. The effort in the first half, I tweeted at halftime, I said, I hope they can sustain this. I tweeted that 10 minutes into the game. The first 10 minutes, man, they were gangbusters. I've never seen, and Duke started hot. They hit those 2 threes. They're up 6-2 right out of the gate, and Tennessee responded. I've never seen a Tennessee team. No. Let me back up. I've never seen a team play that hard ever on defense ever.
Duke's lowest point total ever in a half in the NCAA tournament.
Yep. It was absolutely incredible. You talk about they just wanted it more, something like that. Okay, the play at the end of the first half where Vescovi got the rebound to steal essentially another possession before the half, and they end up scoring. That's one of those, he just wanted it more plays.
Yep.
I've never seen a team play that hard. So where is that? Where does that go? You know what I'm saying? Where was that team against Louisiana? Because that was not the same team that played against Louisiana. They came out with a different mindset tonight, a different level of intensity that we have not seen yet this entire season. Yes, I know they beat Gonzaga at the beginning of the year. Yes, I know they beat Kansas earlier in the year. I get that. They didn't play it as hard as they did tonight. That was next level. Ricky, I've got an E. Pierce Media shirt on, Ricky. That's my media side gig I do. Thank you for asking, buddy. It was, I've always appreciated Coach K. I've always loved the way Duke played, and then in recent years, they got away from, their motion offense that they were always so good at. Shire brought it back this year. They started the game the way they would hope to. The outside shot has always been Duke's game, always. And Tennessee took it away. You even had Euros up playing like suffocating on-ball defense near half court against Roach. I've never seen Tennessee play that hard. It
It
was
won't show up in the stat line, but I thought Urosh played his absolute best game of the year. His numbers won't stand out, but he did all the little things well. And let's be real, he had 5 to give, and Kyle Filipowski felt all 5 of them.
yeah.
he made sure Filipowski left that floor bleeding.
That's what I'm saying. He knew his job. He knew his job. Okay, so let's talk about that for just a second because okay, people online, it's shocking to me how people can see one thing that one team's doing and not see it when the other team does it too.
Yeah.
People on all over Twitter, on Facebook, saying Duke's just flopping everywhere. What is this? A bunch of actors. People are calling them thespians. A school for drama, and I'm like, okay, here's the deal. That is part of basketball now. Like, go watch LeBron James and tell me he doesn't act half the time when he's playing. It's absurd how some people do it, but you want to draw a foul, you fall down. Like that's what you do. And you leave it up to the referee to decide if you actually should have fallen down or not.
The worst flopper on the court in every game is Santiago Vescovi.
That's exactly what I was. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
He has
Roach's fourth foul. Yeah, Roach's fourth foul. I mean, okay, he did not push Santi that hard. Just so we're all clear,
no.
He held his hand out to keep him at arm's distance. Santi saw an extended arm and was like, "Oh, here's my opportunity," and fell down and sold it and drew a foul and got his fourth foul, which is a really smart play. That was stupid by Roach to extend his arm out.
Yeah, that's what you need to say. It was ignorant on his part to raise his arm that high because any ref can see that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't extend your arm. That's asking for a foul. And so
I want to go back
his arm
a month ago.
And kudos to Santi because Santi saw him extend his arm, boom, immediately fell down, got the foul. And that was critical because that was Roach's fourth foul. And listen, I know he should have fouled out later on. Like that was blatantly out. And Roach totally got the refs to buy into what he was saying. Like, no, that was on Proctor. Roach should have fouled out like with 4.5 minutes left in the game. But he picked up his fourth foul because Santi sold it and drew that foul. Roach picks up his fourth foul with 8.5 minutes left in the game. And they threw the dice and left him in there. Now, listen, I don't care who you are. That changes the way you play. When you know you've got only one left to give, that changes the way you play. And that changed the game in that moment. And that is a direct kudos to Santiago Vescovi for drawing that foul like that.
Now, let's not mince words, though. He picked up his third foul with 1.5 minutes left in the first half. You know, why is your best ball handler with less than 2 minutes left in the half with 2 fouls even on the court?
Sure.
That third foul, you know, it's the player's fault for putting himself in that situation, but it's John Shire's fault for even letting him be on the court.
Absolutely. And then, you know, people were saying that you know, people are flopping stuff like that. So here's the deal. If people get mad at Filipowski for falling down at the very first, at Uros's first foul of the game, okay, if he didn't fall down and I were coaching him, I would get ticked off at him for not falling down because that is Uros is lucky he didn't get a flagrant one on that. I mean, I'm just being honest. That the one later in the game when they went and actually looked at it, like, should this have been a flagrant one? No way, that shouldn't have been. But the first one,
that was
it could have been.
Post up.
Yeah, now the second foul on Uros when he was boxing out, man, that's iffy. I know. Listen,
but hold on.
He was sending a message. I get that. He was sending a message. I know that. But that's really tough as an official to call that because, I mean, he threw his whole body into him. But at the same time, you can say, well, I was just boxing out. You know, that's a tough one. But the first foul, when it was stupid because it was unnecessary. You know, Duke had just hit back-to-back threes They come down, they miss a shot. We actually make a stop on to start that possession, and Euros gives the ball right back to him. That was unnecessary. The one he was blocking out, absolutely go block him out and make him feel you. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Ricky,
It
what are you talking about?
it may you're doing an awful lot of Duke defending right now. So
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, it drives me crazy when people are saying stuff they don't know what they're talking about
well,
online. Like everybody's flopping. Man,
but
people
let's
flop
not
on both sides because they're supposed to.
but let's not mince words. Whoever had the scout for the Duke game 100% told Urosh, we
Oh
could
yeah,
not care less if you foul out today. You make sure Kyle Filipowski wakes up tomorrow hurting it from every part of his body. And that, I mean, that's what his
good
job
game
was
plan.
today. And he did it really well.
Yeah, he sure
And,
did,
you know,
and it changed the game.
I guarantee you, Kyle Filipowski is in that locker room right now looking at those coaches going, dude, nobody in the ACC hit me like that guy did. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
for sure.
he got beat up, and he
Well,
finished with 13 points, but it was an incredibly quiet 13 points.
yeah,
You know,
you're right.
there wasn't
That's a good
really any
description.
moment. There wasn't really any moment when we were like, "Uh-oh, he's heating up." I mean, it was he running for his life most of the time.
Well, Roach was the one that started out the game on fire, and then Proctor in the second. Proctor kept him in the game in the second half. He is what he's what kept him in the game. But
So
I mean,
a month
kudos to
ago,
Rick Barnes.
yeah,
Like, well, go
we'll get
ahead,
to
and then I want to say,
we'll get to Coach Barnes in a second. Go ahead.
well, what were you going to say? Because I was going to talk about Rick Barnes.
I was just going to say, let's go back to a month ago when Tennessee had lost 5 of 8. Everybody was hypercritical of them. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I was saying on a nightly basis, when is Olivier going to show up? You know, when Olivier shows up, he's the best post player in the SEC. I don't care what anybody says. When good Olivier, the one who played tonight, shows up, there's nobody that can stop him.
can we agree that this was his best game as of all?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was better than Texas. This was
Yeah.
his best game.
But he was aggressive when he needed to be aggressive. He allowed the game to come to him. You know, he did a fantastic job against the zone, popping out into the backside wing and just spotting up and being available. I was kind of stunned that Duke stayed in the zone as long as they did because Olivier just destroyed them. They had no answer for him.
Yeah. And really nice interior passing on that one possession where Adu
Yep.
comes up, not quite to the elbow, catches the ball. Olivia breaks down the baseline. There's nobody else back there because Lively had to come up and honor Adu. Beautiful bounce pass and slam. That was gorgeous. David Franklin said Euros is intimidating for sure. If that guy could shoot a bit better, he'd be unbelievable. Oh yeah, totally agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's going to be interesting to see in the Sweet 16 because I mean, FDU and FAU are both watching that game thinking, all right, so we have to keep a guy on Kamwa when he steps out. Whereas when Euros steps out, you can drop back, 10, 15 feet off of him because he ain't shooting, I mean, that the fact that Kamwa made so many shots tonight, that changed the game. I mean, that's understatement of the century, but hey, Uncle Dave. He said, Kamwa was a beast today, just making that profound observation. That is a profound observation. That's exactly right. I want to.
I love Olivier in the post-game press conference when they asked him what happened in the second half, and his response was, I was on the bench most of the first half, so I knew I had to get mine. That's a mentality we need from him every single night. Like, he needs to walk in the gym going, I'm getting mine.
Make it to where they can't take you off the court.
Yeah, when he's playing like that, no one can stop him. I mean, that tip dunk on the baseline late in the set, that was freakish.
Yeah, that was
like,
nice.
Human beings shouldn't be able from that angle to elevate that high, catch a ball with one hand, and have the presence of mind to throw it back down on a hammer dunk. And there was no hesitation. He just went and got it.
Yeah. So that, one of my other takeaways from today was kudos to Rick Barnes, man. I mean, kudos to Rick Barnes. that his whole coaching staff, they outcoached Duke today. I mean, they had a game plan and they came in and they said, we're going to set the tone. And kudos to the players for setting that tone and not backing down
Yep.
at all throughout the game. Tennessee was the aggressor the entire game. They were the physical, you know, enforcers the entire game, and they did not back down from that. It was obvious that when they came into this game, that's what they knew they were going to do. That's why I'm sure Yost got the start, because they're like, go in there and set the tone, and he did. He went in and set the tone.
So I saw a stat before the game to that point, which now that they won, when Urosh plays at least 10 minutes, the Vols are now 21-3. When he doesn't, they're 4-7.
It's a big difference.
You talk about a tone setter. I mean, the coaching staff clearly saw that and said, who cares if he's a liability? We're going to let him go out there and beat people up. Let's at least use it.
Darius said, hey, good to see you, Darius. He said, I'm very surprised of how Tennessee beat Duke. I agree, man. We haven't seen that Tennessee team yet this year. Not to that level. That was a different team we saw tonight.
Yep.
He said, I didn't have Tennessee going far in my brackets, but this team's proven me wrong. I apologize for Rick Barnes and the team. I totally understand, man. I mean, like, we have not seen that. I mean, like I said, they came into the game knowing we're going to set the tone, and they did not back down from that at all. Hey, Elijah, good to see you, buddy. He said, so proud of these guys. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
we've seen glimpses of this. Like in Atlanta, we saw a whole weekend of this. It wasn't quite to this level, but it was the team that we saw that we were like, okay, that team can win a national championship. But we haven't seen it since Atlantis. And we were close the Alabama game. That's probably the closest we've been to Atlantis. But this was hands down the best night they've had all year.
Well, and here's the deal. You have a maximum of 4 games left. And so the question becomes, can you come out with that same level of intensity and that same, gosh, I don't even know what to call it, man. I guess you could call it determination, but
that's what I would call it.
Yeah. That same level, can you come out with that 4 more times and sustain it for 40 minutes each time? If they do, they can play with anybody, and we've seen that.
There were moments tonight when you could see Santi's face, and like everything on his face said, we're winning this game right now. Like he was not going to lose today.
Totally agree. Darius said, the tone was set when Tennessee's big guy started pushing around Duke big. Yeah, absolutely. Elijah said they played for Z today and they showed it. Yeah, I totally believe that.
How cool is it? Zakai had surgery earlier this week, couldn't travel with the team, but now he gets to travel with them. And not only does he get to travel, he gets to go home. How cool is that he gets to go to the Sweet 16 in New York City?
Yep. That's really, really a cool thing. I was thinking about that in that post-game press conference or interview with Olivier. That was a really, really neat thing. But I mean, I'm so happy for Rick Barnes. I said that multiple people, are texting me after the game and asking me my thoughts. And I kept going back to, I'm so happy for Rick Barnes because he has been just, I know
the best coach in Tennessee basketball history.
Yeah. Well, I know Tennessee fans, and I'm one of them. I know that, we're not, a hallmark of our fan base is not, overreacting. But sometimes we might, and man, the fan base, I'm happy for Rick Barnes because people can't bash him after that win. People can't bash him, and anybody who does, even if they lose in the Sweet 16, which I don't think they will, but I also didn't think FDU would beat Purdue either. But I mean, I don't think they'll lose. They shouldn't lose. I'll put it that way. They should make it to at least the Elite Eight. But nobody better be saying anything negative about, Rick Barnes can't coach. We need to get rid of him and find somebody else. No, man, the guy is stellar. He is stellar
for a lot of reasons. How many times this year have we heard people commenting on how Tennessee handles themselves in post-game interviews. How many times this year have we heard SEC network people having interviews with Tennessee basketball players, and when it's over with, like, they're gushing over how awesome the players were? That is also a direct result of Rick Barnes. That is what he recruits. That's who he is.
Yeah.
And the University of Tennessee should be very, very thankful that Rick Barnes is in that office and he's doing his thing his way, because whenever he does decide to retire, and he's going to get to coach until he decides to retire. Everybody just needs to
Right.
wrap their mind around that.
Right.
When he decides to retire, there will be a line a mile long for that job. Danny White will not have to do anything. He will have the 90% of the coaches in America begging him for that job, because the program is going to be in an outstanding place. Danny White's done an amazing job with organizational structure, and the NIL program that's in place is second to none. And
And the
so,
facilities.
yeah, and so that job will be one of the most sought after jobs in America, and people are going to be shocked at who's going to be in that line trying to get that job. There will
Yeah.
be Power 5 head coaches at other schools Tennessee competes against begging for that job.
Yeah. Darius said, I hope Tennessee doesn't take the next opponent for granted. Next, yeah, totally agree. And man, it's it's easy. Surely they won't. I mean, like, they've seen FDU beat Purdue. They've seen Florida Atlantic beat Memphis. Surely they won't. But you can't look at the number beside the name. Like, you can't look at that 9. You can't look at that 16. You got to look at, we got to come bring our A game so we can get to the Elite 8.
Speaking of Rick Barnes, let's talk about Memphis for a second.
Oh goodness.
Let's look at the juxtaposition here. So,
did
today,
Rick Barnes throw anything after the game?
Right. Well, did any of Tennessee players get in a fight on the bench during the game? Twice.
Yeah, exactly.
It is unbelievable. People always go, why does Rick Barnes not play Memphis anymore? Why are they? Because he doesn't want to deal with Penny. He's sick of Penny's garbage. And, what everybody saw last night with Penny chucking a water ball across the floor and players fighting on the bench and all that chaos that surrounds Memphis. How'd you like to be on the charter plane last night coming back with the Memphis basketball team?
Yeah, it's never a good situation when your players are fighting during a timeout. Like, that's not what you want in the middle of the NCAA tournament. Like, that's never good.
And what's crazy is, like, they let it keep going. Like, it happened twice. And then at one point, I don't know if you saw this or not, at one point, one of the assistant coaches tried to get the two guys to sit next to each other on the bench so they could hug it out, and they just wanted to fight. And finally, he had to sit in between them because they couldn't stay off each other. It's just lunacy.
So Elijah made a really good point. He said, I hope we play to our level the entire way, but knowing this team, they'll play down. And man, I think this is a legit concern. I really do. Because if we base this off of the history of this season, that's exactly what we've seen Tennessee do repeatedly throughout the season. That's why they beat Tennessee, or not Tennessee. That's why they beat Alabama. They beat Kansas. They beat Texas. They beat, all these really, really good teams, and they lost to Florida. and I mean, like, I get this. Like, they have a tendency to play to the level of their opponent, and hopefully this will set the tone, and they say, no, we're going to make them come to our level the rest of the way.
I do think this is a veteran team, and
Yes.
there is a different sense of urgency now than January. In January, it's hard to get up for every single game. It's hard to give max effort every single game. Now, if you don't do it, you're gone. I think the combination of it being a veteran group that understands that, and honestly, you don't like to play rah-rah situations, but the reality is they're playing for Zakai, and they're going to Zakai's hometown for the next game. Like, this is going to be so big for him. And I could see them coming out and playing insanely hard so that he gets to look at his peers and go, yeah, that's my team. Um,
Now, side note along those lines of what you just said, well, really either one, but if FDU beats Florida Atlantic, or even vice versa, listen, playing in a gym that, I think Rustin was texting us last night. FDU's gym seats like 1,392 or something like that.
1875.
There you go. Playing in a gym that holds that amount compared to playing in Madison Square Garden,
It's a little different.
that's a little different. I mean, that's like a Hoosier situation where they walk in with the measuring tape to measure the rims and make sure they're 10 feet. I mean, that's different.
Well, and the
The
biggest
the
way it's
pers-
different is depth perception. It's
the,
hard to shoot in
that's
a
exactly
gym
what I was
that
going to say.
big when you've spent your entire season in a cracker box.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because that glass backboard, you can see through it, and all of a sudden, that wall that's normally about 10 feet away from the back of the rim is now
A
200
really
feet
long
away
way
from.
away.
It's very, very different, and that takes a little bit to get used to. Let's see here. We got a couple people.
A
Yes,
lot.
Elijah, it's a good question. He says the Elite Eight also in NYC. Yes, it is. So we don't know yet if it'll be a Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday situation.
No, we're Thursday, Saturday. We do know that.
When did they say that?
They announced it this afternoon.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, well, there you go.
Which plays to our advantage because the other
Yeah,
three teams that would potentially be in the Elite Eight all play tomorrow. So
yeah,
our coaches get an extra day to scout everybody who could potentially be there, and our players, more importantly, get an extra day of recovery over the other
yeah,
three teams that'll be there.
yeah. I mean, that's huge. I didn't realize that they already announced it.
Yeah.
So it's a Thursday, Saturday situation. So that means that both teams will play Thursday, or both games, I should say. And then the winners of that game will play each other on Saturday. And Elijah said, I can 100% see a Final Four this year if they play like they did today. Absolutely. He said everything's
Yeah.
falling into place. Let's be honest. They should make it to the Elite Eight. That should be the situation now. In the Elite Eight, they're going to have to play either Marquette or Kansas State, both of which are very, very good teams, like
Now, let's
legitimately
not
good teams.
I picked
We'll say go.
Marquette to go to the
Hey, Will.
Final Four. I picked Marquette to go to the Final Four, but this feels like one of those weird years when Tom Izzo might have a little bit of magic going on.
Yeah.
Michigan State looked great in the first round, and that Marquette Michigan State game could be an upset in the making. Yeah, Tom Izzo just has a way of finding ways to win games he shouldn't. I think we'll probably see the winner of Marquette and Kansas State, but don't count Michigan State out.
And Darius makes a good point. Kentucky is still in the field in that region. They could end up being Tennessee, Kentucky. It could.
How great would it be for us to beat? I think it'll probably be Florida Atlantic. I think Fairleigh Dickinson's glass slipper will bust here.
Yeah.
But how great would it be to beat Florida Atlantic, for Kentucky to win and for Alabama to win, and have Kentucky in the Elite Eight and then run into Alabama in the Final Four? Like, I don't know if I can handle that.
Well, it'd be a strong showing for the SEC, that's for sure. Eating My Crow with Hot Sauce said, the last 2 days have been exciting. I think that a few more may be on the tournament menu. I just hope that Mr. Hyde stays home. Amen, brother. That's what we've been saying. We hope the team that showed up today continues to show up. That's our hope. Let's see here. We had a few more comments come in. Hey, Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach's joining us. He said, "Hey, how's it going? Go Big Orange. I thought Duke was supposed to be a basketball school." LOL. I mean, this is a huge win for Tennessee. There is no denying that. It's a huge win for Rick Barnes. It's a huge win for Tennessee. I mean, my goodness, this morning on College Game Day, everybody picked Duke on the pregame show on CBS. Everybody picked Duke. Tennessee. This was a huge win for them. There's no doubt about it. Never, like I said, I keep going back to this. I've never seen a Tennessee team play that hard for that long. That was an incredible effort, an absolutely incredible effort. Let's see. A couple people saying some Final Four picks here. Elijah said he also picked Marquette to go to the Final Four. That's right. Let's see. Darius said my Final Four was Alabama, Marquette, Texas, and UCLA. Yeah, I mean Marquette's going to be a tough team to beat. He said, and Elijah said I'd seen that 85% of money line bets were on Duke. Oh yeah, I totally believe that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, like I said, eight. Well, how many people would that be? Six, three on game day, three on CBS, or was there four on CBS? I can't remember.
I think they should bring the selection show crew back together and force them all to stand on screen and apologize to Tennessee for how quickly they all picked Louisiana live on air on the night those brackets were
Yeah.
released.
Hey, this is a good one. I like this eating my crow with hot sauce. He said I had to be on the road today and didn't get to watch it. Thank God for radio. Go figure. So does this mean that it is now deemed that eating my crow with hot sauce has to listen to the games from here on out?
Yep.
We're not superstitious, but we are a little stitious. Okay. Does he have to watch it or listen to it on the radio from here on out? Gary Vol. Hey, welcome, Gary Vol. That's a new name we've seen. Appreciate you joining us, Gary. This is a really good point. And Rustin alluded to this earlier. Maturity show today. Focus too. You know, that's one thing that Rustin especially was harping on for the weeks leading into March. And I said it too. One of the most important things in March is veteran guard play. Now, what you saw today was both teams had veteran guards. I mean, Proctor's a freshman. I get that. But Roach is a veteran. I mean, look at Tennessee's backcourt. You had Tyreek Key, and Tyreek Key was in there for, I'd say, probably at least half the game. Vescovy was in there for almost the entire game. He came out for a minute in the first half. I don't think he came out in the second half.
He got a breather in the first half. I don't think he came off the floor in the second half. And kudos to Jemai Meshack.
Oh, yeah. Free throws at the end. That was huge.
But even more than that, that dude, they mentioned it a little bit on the air, but I don't think anybody has fully factored in what that dude has done. So, coming out of high school, he was a top 50 player nationally. And last year as a freshman, he just didn't really get to play that much. And, Rick Barnes said at the beginning of the year, he's never had a player work as hard in the offseason as Jemai Meshack did this offseason. And now look at us. I mean, look where we are. He is the best on-ball defender in America. The guy can guard anybody. He's making big shots when he needs to make big shots. He's handling the offense. Like, that kid has made an unbelievable growth in 1 year. It's just it's incredible to watch.
I think you've got the numbers in front of you, but I can remember one turnover, and that's all I can remember. Did he have any more than one turnover?
Hang on,
maybe a second, but I remember
flipped
one.
Over to the Lady Vols. Give me 1 second.
Because there was one turnover in the first half. No, it would have been in the second half. It was actually like the start of the second half. He drug his foot and traveled.
I think he actually had 2. They gave him credit for 3, but one of those wasn't his. It was on Tyreek Key, and Jemai got assigned the turnover, but it was Key's fault. So
here's the deal. 2. That is a huge reason why Tennessee won the game today.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, my goodness, they were forcing turnovers left and right, and they were protecting the ball, which was totally different than a couple of the games we've seen in the previous few weeks. I mean, my goodness, Thursday night, they had two passes that they just literally threw it into the first row. I mean, so that was a different mindset. That's what I'm saying. It was a different mindset tonight, and it was a joy to watch.
We won almost every single statistical category. The only one we lost was field goal percentage, and we just barely lost that. We actually shot the 3 better than Duke did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But every other
and a lot of that was credit to Vescovy, and then in the second half, Kamwa.
Josiah hit a couple of big ones.
In the second half, he did. Yeah. He didn't hit any in the first. He was 0 for 3 in the first, but he hit some in the second. That was huge when he hit that first one in the second.
Yeah. But even that, I like that Josiah was walking out there going, no, I'm getting shots. We need him to be like that. It opens up everybody else. Same thing with Kamwa. There are certain guys that every time they walk on the floor, we need them thinking, I'm getting mine.
Yeah. Well, so think about it like this. In the first half, the only the only offensive threat really Tennessee had in the first half was Vescovy. Adu had 6 points in the first half, but Vescovy he was their offense in the first half. They had to have someone else step up, and thankfully in the second half you had Josiah and Kamwa step up big time, and Tyreek Key did in the second half as well. So that's why it was an all around really good game.
I
And so I think
loved,
Gary's exactly right. The maturity it showed today.
I
Gary
loved,
said,
go ahead.
okay, so Gary said, he said, thanks, you have a great show. Hey, thank you, Gary. I appreciate that very much. It's fun. It's so much fun. And he said he's UT alum in Naples, Florida. Never miss any Vols game, any sport. I love it, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And down
We're
there
all
in
going to
enemy
Gary's
territory,
house
you
for
hold it
spring
down
break.
there in Florida, Gary. You hold it down in Florida. I know that's a different shade of orange and a blue down there. That's not very fun to be around. So you hold it down. What were
I
you going to say, Russ?
loved I loved what Rick did. And again, these are the veteran coaching things that most people don't think about. And sometimes you just think about it because you stumbled onto it, 9 years ago with a previous player. But I loved what he did to steal Julian Phillips some minutes against the zone. Julian has been struggling. He's in his head. He's got a lot of issues right now. But the easiest thing for a wing to do, hey, stand on top of the key so we can get our shooters pushed out to the wing. And anytime a shot goes up, you attack the basket because they can't see you coming. They've got their backs turned. Go be a player. And, Julian got several offensive rebounds that way. He got a tip dunk that way. He got an
Yeah, that
offensive
follow up dunk was
rebound.
nice.
Yeah, got an offensive rebound that ended up being a layup for Olivier. Um, Julian was really effective standing at the top of that zone and allowing the shooters to get out on the wing and then going and just being a force rebounding. And that's the kind of thing, most people wouldn't go, hey, move your guards to the side and put that three guy at the top of the key just for the heck of it. A lot of people wouldn't think of that. But it was a genius move, and it stole minutes for Josiah to get a good breather. It allowed Julian to be productive. It was really smart.
And if you're going to shoot from the outside, a lot of people feel most comfortable shooting from the top of the key. So if Julian takes a shot, he's potentially in a more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
shot there at the top. That's a great
I'm
point.
betting he was told to just be a distributor and not to shoot from the top and to go rebound when shots go up. But again, and we've all seen this. The other thing it does open up, and he got a nice look this way. When you've got Vescovy on one wing and Tyreek Key on the other, the top two guys of that zone have to push out, which
Yeah.
opens up driving lanes for Julian from the top of the key. And again, the one thing he can do, he can slash, he can attack the basket, and I thought it was a genius move that really paid dividends.
So earlier we were talking about should eating my crow with hot sauce have to listen to the game on the radio from here on out. And he said, hey, I'll take one for the team. I love it. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate that. Oh, that's good stuff. And then Zach said, I think we can beat anybody who's left if we play like we did today. Agreed. Absolutely. As long as they bring the same level of intensity that they did today. Because once again, that was a different Tennessee team that played today than we've seen. Elijah said Sonny had 38 minutes. Yeah. I mean, he was a warrior. I mean, my goodness, like his effort on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
It was incredibly impressive. Let's see.
He must, they talk about his conditioning program in the off season. He must run just miles and miles every day because he never seems to wear down. It's incredible.
And Zach made a good point. We held them to under 60 points. When we do that, we win a lot. And that's exactly right. That's like the magic number, it seems, for Tennessee. If they hold the other team under 60 points, then they're in really good shape. Zach's talking about Florida and Georgia. Let's see. Elijah said we really won a game against an extremely hot and talented Duke team with Josiah and Tyreek shooting a combined 4 of 19 and 2 of 8 from 3. That really says something. Yeah, totally agree. we had people step up today who we need to step up repeatedly from here on out, namely Kamwa. I mean, my goodness, he played with us a whole different level of game in the second half. It was incredible.
There's such a thing as a good miss. And he just said Josiah and Tyreek went 4 of 19. They didn't shoot the ball great, but I love the fact that they're looking for their shot. Like
Yeah,
we
because they need
need
him to
those.
score.
Yeah, we need those guys to look for their shot because that's what opens up Santi. That's what opens up Olivier. When the defense isn't sure who could be a scorer and they have to guard everybody, it makes everybody better. And that's why, if you've ever watched when Tyreek passes up a shot, because he passes up a lot of shots, Rick Barnes goes nuts on him. There was one play where he caught the ball in the wing and drove in the middle of the lane, and no one guarded him. And he was 5 feet from the basket, and all he had to do was jump stop and go up and take a little 5-foot jumper. And
Yeah,
instead, he dribbled all the way out of the paint, tried to kick it to Santi, and Santi had to force up a prayer with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. And it's like, you were just there. There was no
yeah,
one with you. And, you could see it on Coach Barnes' face. He lost it.
yeah,
And at some point, those guys have to all walk in going, I'm scoring tonight.
yeah. Agreed. Tulsa Vol. Hey, welcome, Tulsa Vol. Glad you're with us. That as I recall against Louisiana, the Vols went into the zone very effectively at one critical time. Yep. And so
That was a great call.
Tonight, Rick Barnes at the end of the Louisiana game, he said, "Hey, go tell Duke we're going to play zone against him."
Mm-hmm.
And you saw them play a little bit of that in the first half, a little matchup zone.
It's the amoeba, which is my absolute favorite zone defense. I love the amoeba defense, and they actually run it really, really well. It's a hard zone to teach because it requires a ton of communication, and they actually do it really well for a team that doesn't play it a whole lot.
Zach said, "Did anyone see the Josh Mancuso Tennessee versus Duke video?" Yes, it was hilarious. Josh Mancuso is a national treasure. That video was hysterical. It was really good. And Elijah speaking about the fact that we need Tyreek and Josiah to shoot the ball, shoot or shoot. Absolutely, they do. So having said all that, Rustin, who was your player of the game today? I think I probably know, but
I'm gonna split it. I give the first half to Santi because I felt like if Santi hadn't played like a man possessed the entire first half, that game would have gone a very different direction. And obviously, the second half was 100% Olivier. I mean, just a man among boys.
So it's interesting you say that. Like, we don't talk about that before we go on the air live, but that's almost exactly what I was going to say. In the first half, the reason they were in the game, and especially, having the lead, but the fact that Tennessee was even in the game in the first half was because of Santiago Vescovi. And it wasn't just offensively. I mean, yes, he was their only offensive threat. The dude was a defensive machine in the first half as well, getting critical rebounds. I mean, like he was boxing out Lively one time, and I was like, "Holy cow, man!" I mean, like the guy, he is so aggressive and he hustles so much. I mean, he's fun to watch because he plays his tail off. But after the second half, I mean, you got to say Olivier because, I mean, my goodness, he had what? I know at one point it was 13 straight. I think it ended up being like 15 or 16 straight points for Tennessee.
He had 17 of their last 19.
That's pretty good. That's decent outing there. I mean, it's incredible. So what was your play of the game?
So this might surprise people because there were some awesome highlight reel plays. Olivier's tip dunk, a couple of Olivier's threes were big, but I felt like the most impactful play of the game was when Roach was going down on that breakaway and was going up for the layup, and Santi somehow blocked the shot out of bounds. I thought that was a massive momentum swinger and really kind of decided the game. I felt like if Roach had made that layup, all of a sudden it was going to be a scramble. And, and when Santi blocked it, it was like, nope, this thing's over.
And then, it's just a couple possessions after that. I think Roach had an opportunity for a three. It would have made it a 6-point game, and he missed it, and we got the rebound. That was a huge turning point in the game. But you're right. And the most impressive thing about that block was Santi's body control to not touch him with his body.
Yep.
And he got all ball and only the basketball. Like, that was incredibly impressive. Um, I loved the oop to Julian in the first half from Sonny. I mean, that was,
Yep.
oh man, it was a thing of beauty. And it set the tone. It was a big deal. But my play of the game was what you were just talking about, Olivier's follow-up dunk, one hand slam in the second half near the end of the game there, because it was just the exclamation point on his day, because he had a phenomenal day. And I was so happy for him that was, how he got to end his day. That was awesome.
Did you notice with like a minute left, the rebound Olivier got with one hand while Filipowski was literally
Yes.
climbing his back?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
he
talk
just
about a hook and hold.
snatched it.
I mean, that was like the definition of a hook and hold, that Filipowski had him around his arm, pulling him down, and Olivier still got the rebound one-handed.
And it was
And
crazy strong. Like he caught it and snatched it into his chest. Like, no. This is done.
yeah, and
That
if
was
you go back and
crazy
watch,
impressive.
yeah, if you go back and watch Olivier coming down the court as they're walking the ball at the court, he was going like this, talking about how he just had the hook and hold on him, and he still got it. Like, he was letting the officials know about it too, because that was blatantly obvious. I don't know how in the world they didn't call that, but
Yep.
Zach said his play of the game was Rose in the beginning after those two bogus fouls. He could have lost it, but he didn't. He is his player of the game there. Darius said, I do believe this team has momentum. The key is no stupid fouls. Oh, totally agree. Absolutely.
Well, it depends on who we're playing. Urosh has 5 stupid fouls to give in every game. And if the other team, he does. Like, we can laugh about it, but he does. If the other team has a really good post player, Urosh has full authority to start a fight. If both of them get ejected, we win. I mean, I'm just telling you, I guarantee you it's on the scouting report. They don't come right out and say, hey, fight that dude, but they tell him very clearly, you got 5 fouls to give, use them all.
His job is to make sure that the opposing team is thinking about him. That is his job.
Filipowski's got a reminder right here that's going to stay there for a while.
Well, and that was Adu hitting him by accident, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm glad that they said that on the deal. People were upset about that online too, but that was just a basketball play. I mean, that happens. Did
you know how many times Urosh would try to post up and he would go high with it? He was trying to hit it. he was trying to bust that thing open.
Yeah. And that, it almost came back to bite him in that one, but because they went back to look at it and they said, nah, he was just posting up, that kind of thing. Let's see. Elijah said the Phillips putback was so nice. Yeah, in the second half, absolutely.
Kid's a freak.
He can jump, man. That's for sure.
When he figures it out, he's going to be amazing.
Now, I like this one. Elijah said Adu's layup at the end of the first half gave us momentum. That was a huge deal. I agree.
Fantastic pass by Santi.
Yeah, that was a great play and an important play, because it put him up, by 6 and going with momentum at halftime. That was a big deal. Zach agreed with me. The one-handed dunk by Olivier at the end. Yeah, Zach, you're exactly right. If only he could play like this every game. Absolutely. That's the key. So you might crow hot sauce. He didn't get to watch it in real time. He had to listen to it on the radio, but he said, I got to go back and watch it. But it sounded like they were locked in, hungry. It's unbelievable. Like when you see the just in the first half, you'll be able to notice this is different. Like this isn't normal. This was different.
It was one of those rare games that even if you're watching it on television, like you feel their energy, like you're almost drawn into how hard they're playing. And like you want to drop down, slap the floor in your living room with them. I mean, it was just the raw emotion and just intensity was so amazing. So I'm curious, eating crow. Did Bob ever actually get excited? I didn't get to listen on the radio.
That's a good
I
question.
know Bert did. I'm sure Bert had a few choice words for some Duke players, but did Bob ever get excited? Because I don't know how any human being could watch that game and especially be on courtside and not just feel the emotion and the intensity and just be chomping at the bit.
Well, especially when Olivia had that follow-up dunk. I mean, I was standing in my living room at the time.
Yeah. I
And
want to hear Bert's reaction to that, because I bet Bert
yeah.
lost his mind.
Well, it just came out of nowhere was the thing. I mean, like, you see him go up to get the rebound, and all of a sudden, whoa, he did what?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was out of nowhere. Uh, let's see. Darius said the SEC is doing well so far in the tournament. Yes, it is. Except Texas A&M, they were the only one, but that hadn't done so good. But
And what an unbelievable letdown! Like, how
yeah,
on
that was pretty
earth
wild.
you get slighted by the committee? Like, they had all the material in the world to walk in and prove a point, and
Yeah,
completely lay an egg. That was
yeah.
bizarre.
But Kentucky played well. Alabama, I mean, they won by 30 something. They played well.
Missouri looked great.
Yeah. Let's see. He said Bob was calm. As always, he was calm. He said he peaked a couple times. Let's see. Zach said, I jumped out of my seat more in this game than I did all season. Yeah. And he said, and against Florida. Let's see.
I think you're caught up.
Elijah said, no way he didn't with all the putbacks. And that's when Edom Cross said, well, he peaked a couple times. And Texas A&M got rolled. Yeah, Texas, that was shocking. I mean, it's March, but that was shocking. The other thing that happened today, so the Lady Vols won. It was not close. They was it 45? Is that what it was? 45 points?
95 to 50.
Yeah, that's a blowout there, folks. What was interesting was, so halfway through the second quarter, Tennessee got up to a lead, and especially near the end of the first quarter, they started pulling away a little bit. Halfway through the second quarter, St. Louis had battled all the way back and tied it up. And from that moment forward, it was over. I mean, they just dominated them the rest of the game. They got it up to, I can't remember what the point differential was at halftime. It was like 17, 18, I think, something like that. Maybe more. No, it's probably 20 something, I think. Yeah, it was 20 something. They got it up to 20 something at the half. And so, I mean, they just go on this huge run to end the first half. And then, well, kind of like what the Vols, the guys team did as well. And so
they were up by 24. They were up by 24 at the half.
There you go. They did not look back in the second half. I mean, they put it on them. And it was a good opportunity to get a lot of people some playing time. You saw that especially in the third quarter. Some girls who don't normally get that much playing time got a substantial amount of playing time, so that was good as well. Let's see.
The most important,
Zach said 24. Yeah.
In my opinion, the most important being just Justine Passat. We need her to get more minutes. She's way too good to be sitting watching. And there's going to come a time at some point in this tournament when they're going to need her to step in and make a big shot. So it was good to see her get a lot of minutes.
I mean, it was a good day to be a Vol. That's
more importantly, they don't have to face Iowa State. Iowa State got upset by Toledo. So the Lady Vols get to now move on to play Toledo in Thompson-Boling Arena.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that happened.
Toledo won by 5.
Wow. Huh. So that means that Tennessee could they will have the opportunity to go to the Sweet 16, having played a 13 and a 12 seed.
Yep.
Wow.
No, a 4. Yeah, that's right. 13 and 12. It wasn't 5. Awesome. It wasn't 5. It was 7. Toledo beat them 80 to 73.
Wow. Well, that's huge. I mean, that's a big deal there. Well, so let's talk about the future here. Tennessee we now know the men will play next Thursday. The Lady Vols will play again Monday. And so uh, I haven't talked to Rustin yet about this, but if he's free, then we'll go live on Monday, Monday night after that. And we'll do our next two position previews for football too. So, because, tonight we had two different games, two huge games to talk about with the Vols and the Lady Vols. And then so Monday, Tennessee softball bottom first beating LSU. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. Hey, they started with a 5-0 shutout to start SEC play against number 10 LSU yesterday. That's absurd. They're so
Ashley
good, man.
Rogers.
They're incredible. They are incredible. They're tearing it up. Baseball's had a rough start to SEC play yesterday. Lost 9-1 at Missouri. They play a doubleheader tomorrow, and so we'll probably talk about that a little bit Monday night too. But we will certainly save time Monday night to talk about the next two position previews because we haven't done that in a little over a week. So, oh yeah, so I saw that. I haven't gotten to. So eating my crow hot sauce said I like what I saw and heard in the Dante interview, the Dante Thornton interview. So here's the deal. VolQuest has an interview. What do you mean, Zach? What did I say? What did I do? He said, "Why, Evan? Why?" So the Dante Thornton interview, VolQuest has an interview with him in VolQuest Confidential, and I saw the thumbnail come across my subscription feed the other day, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I want to watch it, and so I like the fact that. Oh, my bad, Zach. He said I brought up the loss against Missouri. My fault, my bad. And so I'm definitely gonna go back and watch that VolQuest interview with Dante Thornton because he's excited. I saw the headline was he's excited to be in this offense, and absolutely, why would you not be? And he's one of the people we're going to talk about on Monday. We're going to talk about tight ends and wide receivers, and so we'll talk all about Dante. It's going to be a fun show. We'll talk a little bit of baseball. We'll talk Lady Vol reaction to their game because that'll be against Toledo now. And so that's a chance to go to Sweet 16. It'd be awesome to have both the men and women go into the Sweet 16 this next weekend. That'll be really exciting. So we gotta be hoping that the Lady Vols come up and play like they did today.
So think about this. Tennessee baseball is now number 2 in America. Tennessee softball is now number 4 in America. And by Monday, men's and women's basketball could both be in the Sweet 16.
And they had a girl on the swimming team. I saw that tweet come through. They had a girl on the swimming team that just got the second fastest time in the freestyle ever in Tennessee history, and she got a silver medal or something. Or maybe she got the gold at the thing. I can't remember, but she medaled at the national championship round, so that was pretty sweet. Eating my crow hots, I said, see y'all next go around, fellas. Go Big Orange. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate that. Zach said, who has a breakout season, McCoy or Thornton or both? Ooh.
I'm actually going Ramel Keaton.
That's a good one too.
I think we're going to see Ramel Keaton become the guy that everybody thought he was coming out of high school. If you look at the sequencing of his time at Tennessee, every year he's gotten a little bit better. And I think he's going to be the guy.
Of those two, listen, Joe can throw it a mile. So I think this year we'll see a whole lot of, hey, Dante, go run past everybody, and I'm going to throw it down there real far, and you go get it.
Well, and put Squirrel in the opposite slot and let them both take off.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine being safeties and those two guys are running inverted fly routes from the slot up the sideline?
You're just like, oh, man. Yeah. I mean, they'll have, no joke, that for real, they'll have safety starting 20 to 25 yards off the ball. Like, no joke. That's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Like it'll be fun to watch. Zach asked a good question. He said, will we still be number 2 after the loss? I would say if they win both tomorrow, yes.
Yeah. You don't drop in college baseball. You don't drop if you win a series. You drop if you lose a series. So if they win both, for those who don't know, like Tony Vitello had to just be sick when he saw that they had to open the SEC schedule in Columbia, Missouri in March. For any of you who have ever been to Columbia, Missouri in March, you don't go back. Like it is miserable weather. That's why they're not playing today. Yesterday they were playing in awful weather. It's freezing cold. It's just nobody wants to be there this time of year. Hopefully they'll rebound tomorrow and get used to it. But even if they don't, in the grand scheme of things, it won't matter that much. For those of you who don't remember last year, the opening weekend of SEC, or the first or second weekend of SEC baseball last year, Tennessee laid an egg and lost a series and played really poorly. And it was just a wake-up call. There's a lot of baseball left. As Tony Vitello called it, they've just started their 10 weeks of hell. So, that's just what the SEC schedule is.
Well, and I mean, think about this. Ole Miss was the last team to get into the as an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament last year, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So,
and they're getting killed this weekend. Vanderbilt has taken them to the woodshed. They've already lost the first two.
So I think that's a really good question by Zach. I think tomorrow's going to tell the tale. Whatever happens tomorrow will let us know if they're going to drop or not. Eating my crow with hot sauce. Speaking about Dante and Squirrel, he said, "Sell the long ball, buy the slant." I mean that. So I mean that's another thing. Like you send both them deep, and then you have Ramel running his, that in route underneath them. Ramel could make a living off that this year.
Yep. We're going to see a lot of that double stack look where the two speed guys are in the front and they're just going vertical, and the two possession receivers are behind them, and they just decide what route they're running based on how the defense reacts. Brew and Ramel are going to make a lot of money catching balls underneath.
Well, so we'll plan on seeing everybody Monday night. We got baseball, Lady Vols basketball, and some tight ends and wide receivers we'll talk about Monday night. So that'll be pretty good show there. We hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Celebrate the 2 Vol wins today. That's very exciting. And we hope everybody has a great day tomorrow. And we'll see you all on Monday. So go Vols, and we'll see you soon.